We've taught our apps to read and to listen, and now it's time to teach them to see, and even to create what we want them to show. From understanding what's in an image, to generating brand new images and videos, to pulling structured data out of documents at scale. That's the world of visual AI. Hi, I'm Rob Folkrod, a lead technical trainer at Microsoft. Welcome to Topic 4 of Develop AI Apps and Agents on Azure, Extract Insights from Visual Data on Azure. Over the next several sessions, we'll cover three big things. First, seeing. Building vision-enabled generative AI apps and analyzing the images with content understanding. Then creating. Generating images and videos from prompts. And finally, extracting and finding. Pulling structured data from documents, audio, and video with content understanding, and indexing everything for search with Azure AI Search. By the end of this topic, you'll be able to design solutions that see, generate, and reason over visual content and search through it all. So let's get started with Topic 4. There's a lot of power from taking a screenshot and using that as part of a prompt. Once your app can see what the user is showing it, a whole new class of experiences opens up. In this session, we'll cover developing a vision-enabled generative AI application. We'll deploy a model that works with both images and text and then build a visual chat app on top of that. So let's get started with this session. When we're looking at our generative AI applications, we can start with a model. And there are a number of multimodal models that understand text and images. And so those can be included together. You can have text prompts, you can have image prompts, and then more likely, many of your applications will have a combination of those prompts where you will supply both images and text together. Early in our conversation, when we were looking at the OpenAI models, we saw that we had a couple of different APIs for having those conversations. And we were really just focused on the text component of those conversations. But here, we can use both the chat completions or the response API, depending upon your needs, equally effectively when supplying images in with your prompts. We're going to start just by taking a quick look at the chat completions API. And you'll see we're doing a Python example here, and we're just grabbing, there's nothing really interesting here that isn't just straight Python, but we're reading a file off of disk and getting that image read. Then we're grabbing right here data URL. The data URL is just going to have data and image in whatever format, in this case, the JPEG format, and then the base 64 encoded data is going to be sitting right here. So that's the way that we're going to pass that information up, is just a base 64 encoding. Then the messages array that we're passing in, we may have a role. We saw that as pretty standard to have the system prompt in there. And then the user prompt is going to have two pieces. The user prompt will have any text that might be associated with it, along with that data URL, right? So we've got the type, the image, and then we're putting right there at the end the data, the content. So that base 64 encoded content gets uploaded at once. After that, it's pretty much the same, because we're asking for text as a response to come back. Nothing changes in terms of grabbing our output. Response choices, grab the first one, and then the message content. With Responses API, again, very similar up front. Getting that same base 64, same URL encoded value, and then we are supplying the input array. In the last example, there were instructions. We could include instructions here. It's just an additional parameter, but whatever instructions might be necessary, and then our role here, and then our content. And just like before, we can have our text in there, what can I make with it, and our image URL, same component before. So not really much difference between the two. Might be a little bit easier to use the response API if it's available to you. And again, because we are asking for text as a response to come back, we're just grabbing output text. All right. So we're going to do a quick little walkthrough to see that live in action. We'll do some work inside the Foundry to make sure that the models that we've chosen are multimodal models. And then we will take a look at building a Python application to use it all. So for starters, you can see here we do have a project ready to go. That project, however, does not have any models deployed. So let's go on to the discovery side of things, into our models. We would do a lookup here. I'm just going to grab 4.1. We've been using this kind of throughout the series. We'll click on it and get its card here, and we can see that it does have both text and image processing, right? Vision tasks, like all of that. So deploy and get the default settings for that deployment. Should only take a second or two. Life is good, right? So now that we've got that, let's go and test it out. We're going to upload an image for it to test. We've got this little mystery fruit right here so that you and I see what the mystery fruit is. The model cannot, but we've got what appears to be a mango at this point. And we're going to ask it, hey, what kind of desserts can I make with this fruit? And we should, there we go, nice. We do have a collection of mango desserts. So successful. It identified the image and then went with that. So I like that a bunch. Go take a look at a couple of code samples here. So we have our AI toolkit here set up with our project. I don't think we need a lot of that right now, but let's take a look at our environment variables. And so in here, we just need the endpoint. We're going to be using the OpenAI endpoint in this case, because we're talking directly to the model. We're not building an agentic layer over the top of it at this point in time. So here we just need our project reference, which is demo 5661-resource. Has been the name we're using at this point. We'll do a little save there. We do have the right name here, GPT 4.1. I don't think we gave it any name other than the default. We should be good there. Then we can take a look at code. So again, in this case, we're just talking directly to the model itself. So in this case, we're importing OpenAI directly and our default Azure credential, grabbing our two endpoints, right, the endpoint and the model that we deployed, and creating a default Azure credential, followed by the OpenAI client, passing in the endpoint and our token provider, the credential there. So that's great. We will then build a system prompt. You're an AI assistant in a grocery store that sells fruit. You provide detailed answers to questions about produce. Love it. So we'll start off with a blank prompt and basically our game loop right here. Ask a question about the image. Now, the image specifically in this case is going to refer to a predefined image here. We're just going to be pointing to a remote URL. We're not going to ask the user for that at this point. We're just going to be pointing to an orange, and then we can ask questions about it. But the for our sake, the interesting part here is we are using client responses create, specifying the name of the model in there, and then in terms of our input, we will have the system role, right? You are an AI assistant, and then our role, which will have both our prompt and will be pointing to the image URL. Type input image URL, pointing to that remote. It will then download and do the analysis. That's it, right? Our prompt, our image, pass those in, one response. We're not going through a lot with conversations or anything like that. We've seen that a bunch up to this point. So just kind of one and done, in and out. So let's give this a save and a run. So let's open up the terminal here. We have already gone through the process of activating the virtual environment and getting all of the dependencies installed, so we're good there. So we should just be able to Python and image chat. We'll give ourselves a little room to breathe in here so we can see it. And let's go ask a quick question about our fruit here. Go back to the idea of a recipe. Again, image is hard-coded. And I picked up on oranges. So orange salad and orange chicken. A nice orange smoothie in there. Great. All right, so that's for starters. And in some cases, you may pre-upload those images. You might have an application whose job it is to upload images to perhaps a storage account and share those out by way of maybe a shared access token or a shared access signature. And you'll just pass in the URL. That's great. But in other cases, we're going to want to upload the image itself. So let's quit here so we get that all ready to go, and we will clear so we are ready next time around. We have a mystery fruit sitting right here. If we take a look, we have our dragon fruit there. Very distinctive fruit. And we are going to want to upload that image instead. So we're going to grab a small code sample here, drop that in. That'll go right there. Boom. And tab that into place. Looking good. We'll save right there. Get rid of the duplicate name. Save one more time. So grab the image path. Path is to mystery fruit, sitting right here. Image format, that of a JPEG. Go ahead and open up the file and read that image data, right? So this is just straight Python, nothing interesting here from a OpenAI or model perspective. What we do want to build is then a data URL. Data URL is going to be the image with our format, and then base64, and then chunk in that image data. That's the only change, right? The image URL now becomes that image data. Everything else is pretty much the same. So we did a little Python change in there, built a URL, and then replaced the URL with our image. Everything else here is the same. So it's still type an image URL, but with the included data URL. So give that a run, and we should get a dragon fruit centric example. Right, so we will run this. Python. And ask the question. So here, what is this fruit? What recipes could I use in it? There we go. And the fruit is a dragon fruit. Right. And then recipes, smoothies, fruit bowl. Okay, sure. Sorbet, be nice. Right, so some nice options there. So, but really doesn't matter. It is the image upload. We handed it an image. It could then analyze that image and include that in our requests. Right. We've got a bunch more of these. Let's go wrap this one up. All right. Let's see how much you remember. For starters, which kind of model can you use to respond to visual input? And here we're looking for those multimodal models. How should you submit a prompt that asks a model to analyze an image? And you'll submit a prompt here that contains a multi-part user image that has both the text and that image content. And finally, how can you include an image in a message. And we saw in the example there's two ways. You could either use the URL or as base64 encoded data. As with many things we've seen when we're working with large language models, it's not often incredibly complicated to do. A lot of the complexity comes from selecting the right model. So we saw that we do have multimodal models that can accept both text and image as input. Typically, we want to include them both as the same message, not necessarily do kind of follow-ups. Right, and we will send that as base64 encoded data, and either the chat completions or the response API will work just fine. In this session, we gave our apps eyes. We deployed a multimodal model and built a visual chat app. Thanks for participating in this Develop AI Apps and Agents on Azure course. I hope you enjoyed learning about vision-enabled generative AI apps as much as I had fun presenting. I encourage you to remain curious and continue to explore new capabilities. That's how we'll all grow. There are many ways to continue your journey, and I invite you to search for your next favorite topic on Microsoft Learn at aka.ms/learn.